Alright, well, here's a bucket of glaze. It's settled out, which they always do. I do put some Epsom salt solution in it to make it work better, but this is your hand stirring method. You put it in, start spinning it around, and use a little wrist action, and in a fairly short time you kind of lift the stuff on the bottom up to get the bottom stuff on the bottom mixed up. And I should mention, you'll notice I'm wearing one rubber glove and one not rubber glove. I'm a right-handed person. I like to have a rubber glove in my right hand to work with sponges, but my left hand I like to have it free so I can grab the pots without the little extra that the rubber glove gives you. But you often wear both rubber gloves. It's certainly a good idea to wear some rubber gloves when working with wet glaze. Okay, that's the way the old-fashioned one works. The new one is a lot noisier but a lot quicker. It's also good for getting stuff, either of these are good for getting stuff through a sieve very fast, but let's go ahead and mix it a little bit with this. Always have it in the glaze when you're using this kind of thing. Put it going, lower it down. You'll notice I move it around the bottom of the pot and tip it at an angle to try to get the heavier stuff up towards the top, but it mixes it up very nicely. It's ready to go. So let's start glazing a pot. If you have a big bucket of glaze, you can glaze fairly big things in it. Here's a casserole lid. You'll notice there's no wax on it or anything. Now, when you're using the glaze tongs, there's the way that lines up with the handle and the way that's across from the handle. You want to keep the cross part on the outside of the pot. It gives it more stability. If it's the other way, it's likely to flop off to the side on you. Anyway, that's my experience. Anyway, you grab it with the tongs and dip it down into the glaze. And that's really all there is to it. Now, there's going to be drips. You can kind of move it around to get the drips around. In this case, we're going to be wiping the glaze off on the outside, so we can take the pot right now and just set it down. Here's the rest of the casserole, and it has a layer of wax put around the edge of it to keep it from getting wax in there. Even when we do that, we're still going to get some wax in there. Also on the bottom, there's a big surface. Now, with the handle on it and everything, it's probably going to have to be a double dip here to get it all in. So I'm not going to use this so much as reach in. Okay, I'm going to use the pot lifts on the other side and reach in, make sure there's an overlap, pull it out. You can see all the beads of glaze, both places where the wax was. That's where that little tool, this sponge, comes in handy on a stick. It gets the crevices very nicely and cleans that up. You can do it while it's still wet is the easiest, or not letting it set too long. If you get a little pool of glaze, you may want to blow on it to thin it out, or it may deposit too thick. Here's another kind of pot. This is a berry bowl that I make. It's got the holes in it, and whenever you have something with holes in it, you want to be careful to not have the glaze fill them up. So after it's been dipped, you take it out and you tip it out and then blow on it, and that'll usually clear the holes out, but you need to look too to make sure of that. Alright, now the way I do a lot of my decorations is using an ear syringe, a rubber bulb that easily fills up with glaze when you stick it in there. Now it can be used to trail a slow, careful design. However, I'm a production potter and I like to just get splashes of color to set off the pot. And so I'm going to show you the way that I decorate pots. I'll just run some of this over it like that, and I'll tend to do about 3 splashes on there. I won't bother to do anything on the inside. That's not something you're going to look at. And where it goes over the edge, we're going to have to clean that up with a sponge later. It's a little harder to do on the inside because you got to start squeezing and stop before the end, or you have trouble. And how hard you push on it is also a concern. And in a shape like this, you have to keep refilling this as it runs low. One of the harder ones is to get some splashes that fit on the side pretty well. There's that. Now I'm using a white glaze. The glaze underneath is green. As you know, most glazes sort of look about the same in the bucket. And you can't see a big difference right now, but the white glaze over the green will make a nice light green over the dark green. So put those aside and we'll try some other things. When you run it all the way across something, sometimes it will run over the edge on the other side, which is kind of nice on smaller bowls and things. This one, it's not enough decoration to show on the side, so I also add some lines on the outside. The same kind of pot, you can try to do a regular pattern where you'll go halfway and halfway, line it up, always lining up with the one there, and continue around. And because of mathematics, what you get is a Star of David, actually, because a circle gets divided into sixths when you're doing it this way. Anyway, it's an attractive pattern. I'm not going to try the same thing on the outside, but I will add some color. Smaller items call for smaller squirts, more delicate work. And that's kind of one of the nice things about this rubber bulb. You can either get a wide or a fine line just by how hard you're squirting. You do have to watch out for little blurps like that. And again, if you keep your bulb full, you're not going to have that happen so much.